All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to break down what is essentially the ultimate crucible of Course 2. I'm talking about the high-stakes, 150-minute live discovery simulation. Look, if you're a forward-deployed engineer gearing up for certification, this is it. This is the gate you absolutely have to pass. You're going to be thrown into a totally random industry scenario, completely blind, and you'll have to prove you can synthesize literally everything you've learned. So let's get you ready to not just survive, but totally ace this thing.
To really understand the goal here, we need to look at the end result. Picture this. It's 9:47 on a Tuesday morning. Renee Okafor, the COO of Beacon Hospitality Group, just got back to her desk from a morning stand-up. And sitting right there are exactly 3 pages, dropped off by a senior FDE after just one single discovery call. Renee reads all 3 pages in under 5 minutes. She signs the memo, boom, the engagement starts. That right there, that is the absolute gold standard we are aiming for today.
Now, you know what's really fascinating about this outcome? It's what Renee didn't get, right? She didn't get some bloated 60-page slide deck. She didn't get a fluffy strategy document or one of those vague vendor pitches giving her 3 options. No way. She got pure precision, 3 exact FDE artifacts structured in a highly specific order. And honestly, this right here is the fundamental difference between heavy traditional consulting and the hyper-efficient get-it-done methodology of a forward-deployed engineer.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll decode the Three-Artifact Doctrine. Then, we'll map out the 8 Course 2 frameworks. After that, we'll walk through the Cordova Health case, highlight some common pitfalls you absolutely need to avoid, and finally, we'll break down how to actually survive the live simulation itself.
All right. Starting off with Section 1, the Three-Artifact Doctrine. Exactly 3 artifacts. No exceptions.
Okay, so this is the core philosophy you just have to internalize. After a discovery call, you leave with exactly 3 precise deliverables. Period. Here is that exact sequence. Step 1 is your reframed problem statement. This answers what problem you are actually solving. Not just the symptom the sponsor walked in the door with. Step 2 is the boundaries map. This dictates where truth lives, what waiting is costing them, and who takes action at every single step. And finally, step 3 is the pyramid memo. It's a tight, concise document that tells the executive what to do, why they should do it, and exactly what engineering is going to build on Monday morning. We relentlessly enforce this rule of 3.
Moving on to Section 2, 8 frameworks, 3 deliverables.
To actually build those 3 deliverables we just talked about, you have to use the theoretical weapons you've acquired, namely the 8 frameworks from Course 2. Let's do a quick mental check. Think about the 5 whys framework for a second. Which rung of that ladder is the true diagnostic pivot? Take a beat. You got the answer?
Well, if you said rung 2, you hit the nail on the head. That first why is really just restating the symptom. But rung 2, that is where the symptom officially transitions into a structural cause. And why does this actually matter? Because that specific structural cause feeds directly into your very first artifact, the reframe problem. If you miss rung 2, I guarantee your whole first artifact is gonna collapse.
This perfectly illustrates the massive synthesis claim of Course 2. Think of this breakdown as your absolute lifeline. Every single framework, whether we're talking about the soft stack, Mies decomposition, or systems of record, has a specific home in exactly one of the 3 artifacts, nowhere else. If a framework is missing, you failed to apply it. If it shows up in 2 places, you double count it, and you are definitely going to lose points on the rubric. It's like a giant puzzle where every piece has exactly 1 slot.
All right, let's look at Section 3, the Cordova Health case. Let's walk through a real-world example.
Let's see how this actually plays out in action. Imagine an FD, let's call her Priya, running a live discovery call at a major hospital network. She's trying to solve an operating room utilization problem. Now, during that call, Priya manages to isolate this specific number, $34,000 per week. That right there is the cost of an action for unreleased OR prime time. Why is pinning down this specific figure absolutely crucial for her boundaries map artifact? Well, because early on in an engagement, ROI is a terrible metric. It relies on all these assumptions you haven't even earned yet. But cost of an action, that is observable right now in today's P&L. Honestly, anything that doesn't directly tie back to this observable 34K number is just fluff.
So Priya successfully isolates the problem, builds the boundaries, and ends with her pyramid memo. And sitting right at the bottom of that memo is the Jira spec sketch. Just look at how incredibly structured this thing is. You've got one user story, Exactly 3 acceptance criteria without any of those ambiguous quantifiers, a strict 6-item definition of done, and 3 super explicit out-of-scope items. It's not some vague concept, it is a tight, highly structured fragment that is quite literally ready to be cut into a Jira ticket for the engineering team on Monday morning.
Which brings us to Section 4, Avoiding Common FDE Pitfalls. Let's talk about the fatal traps.
Look, even with a perfect structure in your head, the intense pressure of a 150-minute exam will cause people to make mistakes. Pitfall number 1, the 4-artifact drift. Under pressure, you might feel this overwhelming urge to add just one more diagram, maybe a stakeholder map or a tech architecture drawing to prove you know it. Please, do not do this. Adding a 4th artifact just proves to the grader that you haven't mastered where these frameworks actually belong. A stakeholder map? That belongs absorbed inside the reframed problem via the cartography lens. Tech architecture? That goes in the boundaries map under the system of record row. Always stick to the 3-artifact doctrine.
Pitfall number 2 is what we call the pyramid inversion. The cognitive load of writing these artifacts under the clock often pushes learners into story mode. Basically, they write this big, long setup that eventually reveals the recommendation at the very end, like a mystery novel. That is an instant failure for the memo rubric. You absolutely must use an apex first pyramid. Isolate your recommendation sentence first and write it at the very top. Then, and only then, do you build your setup and your messy reasons underneath it. Lead with the punchline.
And pitfall 3 is the boundary without deferral. This usually happens when you aggressively place an agent workflow at a high automate tier, say level of automation 7 or above, but you totally forget to name a specific deferral signal. Guys, that's a recipe for silent confidence. It's when a model is confidently wrong on some rare input, but it has literally no way to hand control back to a human operator. Safe automation demands a named deferral signal for every single automated step, no exceptions.
Okay, Section 5, Surviving the Live Simulation. Let's cover the actual rules of engagement.
All right, let's talk about surviving the actual test. Here is exactly how your 70-minute you-do capstone phase is going to break down. You'll kick off with a 30-minute live call where your partner plays a sponsor, and heads up, they will have hidden scripted frustrations to throw you off. Then you jump into exactly 25 intense minutes of silent writing to produce all 3 artifacts. After that, you get 5 minutes to self-score. Finally, a 10-minute block where your partner peer scores you and you debate any gaps. It is incredibly fast and it is relentless.
And here is the magic number, the cut score you absolutely must hit, 12 out of 16 points on the 8 criterion rubric. But listen to this, because it's absolutely crucial. You can have absolutely 0 criteria scored out of 0. Let me repeat that. If you completely miss even one framework, say you just forget the MEC decomposition in the heat of the moment, you get a 0 for that row and you fail the entire course 2 gate, period. Yes, the stakes are dramatic, but the rubric is 100% transparent. You know exactly what's coming.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the ultimate test of your readiness. Right now, without looking at your notes, can you name the 3 artifacts in exact order? And can you accurately place all 8 frameworks into their correct homes? If you can confidently do that right now, then you, my friend, are ready to conquer the simulation. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and absolutely crush it. Good luck!